Hello, everybody. It's Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology, and I'm here for your full moon in Virgo slash lunar eclipse slash blood moon eclipse report. I'm going to try to make this one brief because we actually have a very busy weekend ahead, and there's a lot to pay attention to, including some severe storms that are coming my way. So I'm having to really split my consciousness in half right now. So I'm just going to go over this full moon and tell you what you don't need to worry about. That's right. What do you not want to worry about? That's what this full moon is about. So Virgo is a sign of perfectionism, and it's a mutable earth sign. So think sand. That's what I think. Mutable means changeable. And the only changeable earth I really know of is sand and soil. And that's what it makes me think of. So getting down to the fine details is a very Virgoan thing. So is service to humanity and healing and health. All of these things are related to Virgo. And this full moon is illuminating that. Usually a full moon illuminates. However, there is a shadow being cast on this moon by the earth. So the earth comes between the sun and the moon, and there is what's called a blood moon, a very red moon. And the shadow, I really think, connects the earth and the moon even more. It's like that is emotions. That's the moon. It really governs our daily lives, women's cycles, right? So when a shadow is cast on it by us, what are we saying? We're saying we need to pay attention to this spot, obviously, but maybe change something, maybe let go of something. And especially so with this one, because it's with the South Node. And the South Node, if you ever look in a chart, looks like a little upside down horseshoe. Or actually, I did this thing the other day. It's like there's little circles right here. Anyway, it's the place where the shadow casts on the moon. So the South Node is about letting go. It's about past lives. It's about karmic past, just the past in general, ancestry. That's what the South Node represents, especially in evolutionary astrology, which is one of the things I've studied. So I think to me, it can kick up some old habits or remind us of something that we haven't thought about it in a long time. It can also be somewhere we get trapped sometimes. And sometimes if, I don't really know that you can work with it, but you can in a way. It's not something that I would, do rituals around or whatever you do for your practice, pray, your spirituality, whatever. I think this is something that fate just takes over, right? And I don't say that to scare you, but it is. I mean, it's like the weather coming in. We have this local weatherman who is usually downplaying the sensationalism of the internet and the weather. And he said on his video, he said, I don't say this if I don't mean it. And that's pretty much what I'm saying here is that's what eclipses represent. Now, we can understand what the themes are for ourselves. Find Virgo in your chart, and that will be the where. So for me, Virgo is my third house of communication and community, and it's like the internet and siblings and things of that nature. The way you think, that's the third house. So for me, that's what's getting rearranged, is the way I think, maybe the way I communicate, and I already feel it, right? But there's another layer to this, and I will go through your rising signs, probably not separately like I normally do, but in the end of this video, I'm going to do that just because I don't have time to edit it and upload all of them. That being said, the significator of this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo is Mercury. Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury also rules Gemini. So Geminis, pay attention because you're ruler and people in a Gemini perfection year. And if you don't know what that is, come see me. I'll tell you. It's really cool. You can also Google a chart if you're good enough with looking at a chart, your natal chart, natal astrology chart. But yeah, so if you're a Gemini, if you're Mercurial, if you have Mercury as a ruler of the year of anything like that, this is going to be a double whammy. And I say that because Mercury, the day after, and really I think it's like 12 hours after the exact eclipse, Mercury stations retrograde. So what does that mean? It means we rethink something in the Aries area of our chart. Aries is how we move through the world. And I mean that in a way that a warrior moves through battle. And I don't necessarily think this will lead to battles. However, it's worth stating that, Aries is frustrations and anger. So Mercury retrograde is going to have us rethinking something. Maybe the full moon excites us to anger. Now, one of the reasons that could happen is because Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the ruler of Aries. So Mars is in Cancer, the moon sign. The moon is having a shadow cast on it. We're talking now, we're really layering here, right? So Mars is also feeling the brunt of this because Mars is looking to the moon. Mars is in the moon's home. Mars is like, hey, I'm in your house and you're being eclipsed right now. And Cancer is emotional. Cancer, again, ruled by the moon. So they're playing off of each other, all three of these things: Mars, Mercury, the moon. The moon's emotions, Mercury is how we think, and we're going to rethink something, and the moon is how we feel. So all of that comes together. Our feelings are involved. That might excite us to anger because we're thinking about where Mercury is going to go retrograde. Virgo is the place we want to just not have any worries anymore. We're kind of like, okay, can we let this go, please? Embracing imperfection in that area is something I've been saying as well, where Virgo is. So all together, it is stirred up. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's like you can't control it. I don't even try to work with it. Kind of wish I could stay inside, but I have gigs and it's in a storm. And it's like, okay, how does this translate for me? I'm a Cancer rising. That's one way to at least use astrology to know, what am I having to think about? What am I having to consider? What do I not want to worry about? How do I reframe my thinking and my actions? Maybe I think one of the things that I should note is that Mercury is going to go retrograde back into Pisces. So it's also about revisiting that intuitive place inside of you. You can't make something happen. I mean, I guess dumb luck you can, but generally speaking, making something happen requires imagination or inspiration or passion that Pisces brings out, or maybe even confusion. The need to act comes after a period of confusion. So I also want to read the Sabian symbol here. This was really, really, really interesting to me. And it is the Sabian symbol for where Mercury is going to station retrograde. I should say that also, and that's the 9th degree of Aries. And you round up, if you read Sabian symbols, you round up. So I read Aries 10. But the new moon will also be at 9 degrees of Aries. And in fact, Venus stationed retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. So this spot is hot, okay? Hot literally because Aries is hot. So let's read this Sabian symbol. It is: a teacher gives new symbolic forms to traditional images. The revision of attitude at the beginning of a new cycle experience is the keynote. So let me say this. We find express the capacity to restate the problem inherent in the first part of what we do. The problem of focusing one's energies on emotional drives and cultural values which exclude far more than they include. The subsequent stages of development taken together have added considerably to this attitude. Basically, and let me just explain this, you're building on cultural conditioning, you're building on prior experience with this degree. And maybe that foundation is not that great. Maybe that foundation needs to be purged. And I think it works beautifully with what Virgo is representing as well. There's a purge here. So it's a purge of former frames of thought. Now, if you really think about the pandemic and what it did to us in our minds, in our bodies, and where we're coming from right now, and not just the pandemic, the social changes. I'm gonna cry. You can tell I've been crying a little today because it's emotional and you gotta let it out, right? But the changes, the new world, what does it do to us? And what do we have to reconsider so that we can live in a more calm, healthy state, less jerked around, and coming from a rooted place of emotional security? And I'm saying this to myself as well. But to do that, we have to reframe all of what we just went through. We need to get rid of the parts of it we don't need to keep. And Saturn will be moving into Aries soon. And we kind of work on rebuilding ourselves, rebuilding our identity after this great breakdown, which is that of Pisces. And the beauty is, eventually we'll get to experience the Pisces North Node, and that's going to be a reimagining of the places that have inspired us. Okay, so I think I'm going to do some rising sign stuff now. All right, Aries rising, we're going to give this a little go here. I'm going to share something that I think will help us navigate for everyone. And by the way, I am doing these separately from the general video, but it's not going to separate it out by rising sign. You're just going to follow along for this one because I don't have time to edit. Okay, so let's start with the rising signs. Aries rising. Man, I need to change that color. It's not going to work. There we go. That works. Now, we're going to talk about your sixth house and your first house. So the sixth house is where the lunar eclipse is. And so there is definitely a culmination here: work, health, routine, service. Health, I say health, and yes, health is definitely a thing, but I don't want you to focus on that and like be worried. I think the South Node helps us remind ourselves of this place, what we want to keep, what we want to let go of, what we want to redo. So for sure, with the work, health, routine, service, and daily tasks. The first house is where Mercury is going to go retrograde. Mercury's informing this full moon, okay? Mercury stations retrograde, and then we start rethinking our personality, how we initiate our presence, physical appearance, identity, self. So that's also, I think, a place that will be over and over pinged, okay? I don't know if it's something about being alone for you or if it's something about your appearance. And so I would say, like, for instance, appearance and health can work together, right? Obviously. Identity and mentorship can work together. So, you know, it's like, what are you rethinking in this identity part of yourself to not worry about in the sixth house? Okay. The other thing is Mars was retrograde in Cancer, and it's there now, and it's informing Mercury, right? So you're pushing forward on some emotional security issues, some home parenting. That's really what's making you emotional about something else in one of these areas, I think, is it's coming from a place of, I need to be emotionally secure. This is what I want. This is what I desire. So maybe emotionally secure enough to be yourself in your work environment, not worry about that anymore. That could be a good way to look at this. Emotional security enough to be yourself, know you're healthy, not worry about your appearance, right? There's all kinds of different ways you could look at this, but these are the three main areas. One more thing that I don't want to be remiss in saying is that there's also one more house that's activated. Uranus is, so there's two, but I'm not going to focus on the Pisces thing yet because that's going to be more for the solar eclipse. So we're going to talk about Uranus and Taurus. It's supporting the change that you want to make in your work area. So money and work, you want to make a change with the money, make a change with the work. All right, that does it for y'all. Now I'm going to do Taurus rising. All right, Taurus rising. This is going to be a 12th and 5th house. You want to talk about two houses that kind of don't make sense together, but they kind of do. Sorry, my earbud is really bothering me. So are my allergies. So the full moon is in your 5th house of self-expression. Something could be changing up there. Inner child, children. There's something you're releasing about worrying about that area, okay? That you just don't want to be too perfectionist about this area right now. And, you know, it's funny is the 5th house is fun. You know, how can you be perfectionist about fun? Well, Taurus risings may just make that a habit, right? Romance is also a thing, dating, passion. So you're letting go of something, something's illuminated, being reminded of something, maybe wanting to redo it, let go of perfectionism there, maybe do a little healing there. It's really being governed by Mercury in Aries stationing retrograde. So it could be that you need to go into your own subconscious to deal with some of this, especially, for instance, the inner child stuff, right? What is fun to you? Maybe you need to take a break. You know, you need to rethink this this part of yourself? Do you have spiritual connection? Maybe that's why you can't find any fun right now. Or maybe that's why you've been sinking your time into this area, just creating, something like that. And the reason I say that is because Mars retrograde was in your third house of thinking, writing, short trips, communication, neighbors. Maybe you were very busy. That's another thing. This could also be a situation in which you've been out and about, out on the town, and it's like, no, you need some time to yourself kind of a situation. Okay. The only other thing I'll say is the reason that makes sense is because Taurus is your first house of self, and that's where Uranus is. And Uranus is in support of whatever you're letting go here, this full moon. So Uranus has changed. Do you want to be alone? What is your identity? What do you value about being independent? It's like we've made some changes here. We can let go here. Let go of worry. Quit worrying about self-expression, inner child. You're going to have a chance to take it out to the world. It's basically, you're going to go inward for a minute in order to take it outward. That's a good way to put it. Okay, then we do Gemini rising. All right, Gemini rising. This full moon is in your fourth house. The fourth house is about home. It's kind of stuck in the mud. It can be safety, ancestry, emotional security. Oftentimes we find ourselves overachieving because of a lack in this area. So I think, letting go of perfectionism there is a big deal for you. Now, we can also talk about where Mercury is going retrograde for you, and that's going to be your 11th house of networking, goals, friend groups. So you're going to rethink that based on something you're letting go of here. If you've been maybe even isolated, you could say that. If you've been letting that part of you keep you down. So, I'm not going to come out and talk to y'all. I think I'll just stay home tonight. That would be a way this could come out. And your Mercury's like, hey, you need to rethink this. You need to make yourself known to people. You need to network, have some friend groups. Or maybe it could be the opposite. Maybe you could be someone who's done that a lot and you need time at home and you've been away from home. So there's lots of different ways to think about this, but I will say Mars retrograde was in your second house of money. So that could be driving some things right now. So if you have been just kind of stuck, this is something that's going to help you move forward, I think. And it could be changes in the home. It could also be changes in the friend groups and the way you want to reach out. It could be, I don't want to invite anyone over. I'm afraid of how they think about my house. Well, now it's like, no, you know what? I want some friends over. So all three of these places, and maybe I should also say that Uranus is in Taurus, and that's change. Something about your subconscious has undergone a value shift. That's what I'm calling that. And it's helping you let go of some I want to say doormat tendencies here, also over perfection, also worry in the fourth house of home, safety, ancestry, family, parenting, emotional security. All right, so let's go to Cancer rising. All right, I'm going to speak on this because that's me. All right, Cancer rising. This Virgo full moon is letting go the way you communicate or worrying about it, worrying about the way you think, your thought processes, or maybe even being stuck there, because I think Virgo can just get tied in knots. Siblings, learning, maybe you've just been doing a lot of taking in. I know that's the case for me. I'm a Cancer rising, and you're letting go of that right now. It's time to take it out. Now, Mercury retrograde, and this is why I say it's time to take it out, is in your 10th house of public image, authority, career, responsibility. You're rethinking something. It's kind of like, yeah, maybe I will say the thing. Maybe I don't care. And the reason you may be doing that is because Mars is in your first house of personality, initiation, presence, physical appearance, identity, self-independence. Mars is how you take action. In Cancer, it's just been on an emotional roller coaster about who you are and what you stand for. And I think we've understood that a little more. So this full moon is like, I'm going to let go of worrying about what comes out of here It's very important for me. And focus more on how to build this. Mercury retrograde is like, don't forget about this, because it's going to also remind you of what you know here in Pisces when it goes back into there. Now, the other thing is Taurus has had Uranus in it, which is change in values of your goals, your networking, your leadership. And that's going to trine this full moon and aid you in letting go. It's like, if that's not a part of my goals, why would I worry about this? Why would I worry about my neighborhood? It's not a part of my goals. Now, obviously, that was kind of a harsh way to say it, but you know what I'm saying. There's a sense that we need to take it out for Cancer risings. Okay, now we're going to go Leo rising. I got to speed through these if I can. I'm not giving anyone a shorter one though. Leo rising. Leo rising. This is in your second house of money, comfort, self-worth, values. You gotta let go of the worry there. Oh, way easier said than done, right? Well, think of what you know. Mercury stationing retrograde in your ninth house, higher education, belief systems, exploration, philosophy, publishing, expansion, travel. So maybe some action needs to be taken there, and you need to redo that in order to try to let go of some things here. So the ninth house is what's going to need some work for a minute. Now, the whole time, watch for you, especially Leo risings with, and I say that because money is important to a lot of people. It's how we live right now in this society. So if you know money is going to be a thing, watch Mercury the whole time that the eclipses are in Virgo. Just watch Mercury. That's all I'm going to say. And stations retrograde the day after this full moon. In your area of travel, expansion, philosophy, exploration, belief system. So you may have to rethink, what you believe. Now, even about what? Well, Mars was retrograde in your 12th house of spirituality. Like, it's like, oh, I'm so confused. I'm so confused. I'm so emotional. It's just kind of very stirred up, and you don't even know why. Well, these two things are antithetical to each other. One knows, one doesn't know, but they both are spiritual in nature. So there's a sense that you may need to take some cues from what you are getting from that mystic realm and incorporate it into this ninth house belief realm. Okay. The only other thing is Uranus has been in your 10th house of public image, authority, career responsibility, reputation, ambition, and awards. So there's some emotional attachment there that got stirred up over that Mars retrograde. Well, now it's moving forward, and it's like, I'm going to move forward with this the way it makes me feel good to move forward with it. Okay. So that means you might have to let go of a little bit of comfort, a little bit of worry about your comfort there. Step out, trust. Okay. Let's move on to Virgo rising. Virgo. All right. What we got here is this full moon in your first house of self. Who are you? Do you even know? Are you worried about it? Are you worried about how you're perceived? Are you worried about your appearance? Being alone? Well, it's kind of time to quit worrying about it and embrace some imperfection there. You're not perfect. No one's ever fully perfect. Virgo rising is really want to be. But let's take a cue from where Mercury is going to go retrograde, which is in your 8th house. Empowerment. I really like empowerment. I should have written it on this chart, and maybe I will go back and edit that, because empowerment is really what the 8th house is about. Other people's money, sure, that empowers you, right? Shared resources, that can empower you if it's not out of balance. And that's the thing with the 8th house, is first, to feel empowered, sometimes we have to feel disempowered. So where are you disempowered? Because that is where you need to take action, rethink, redo some stuff, redo some contracts, redo your the way maybe you share yourself, share your money, what you invest in. That's another 8th house topic. How you approach what life is. The 8th house deals with death and rebirth. Debts. That's the lowest of the low things you have to experience. So it's really confronting that place in yourself. Well, I got some Palo Santo out talking about this. I'm not even kidding. So that being said, where was Mars retrograde? In your 11th house of goals. And I think understanding that maybe you've been taken advantage of in your 8th house helps you reformulate what you're going to do, Bonus of Palo Santo for Virgo risings, and your 11th house of goals. You know what you don't want, you know what you want based on the Mars retrograde. Friends, have you seen that you have a ton of friends? You know, like what is the emotional connection to this area? Because Mars stirred it up. Well, that's also informing this eighth house area. It's like, hey, my friends are, you know, man, I feel, let's just say it this way, an example. My friends all have really great jobs that pay a lot and they get to do a lot. Why not me? That's a very good way to put it, right? Why not me? Well, let go of the why not me and lean into the relationships. The other thing you can lean into is where Taurus is in your chart, your belief system, what you know. Uranus is there. So you may have to change up your philosophies. Uranus has already been working on that, your values, in order to let go of some maybe being stuck on self-perfection. Okay. You know that's not the way it is. You've traveled, you have expanded your mind. You can redo your identity now. Okay. Let's move on to Libra rising. Libra rising. All right, so what we got going on here, Libra rising, is Virgo is your, all right, Leo, Virgo moves here, 12th house. I should know that. I get turned around. What are you letting go of, worrying about? What is this existential dread in you? What is that? I want to know what it is. Because that's what the South knows. Like, quit there, quit with the perfectionism, quit with the isolation. And Mercury retrograde is in your, I want to say it's 4th house. Am I right? Gosh, I gotta cheat. But you just gotta do the thing, you know what I'm saying? All right, Libra rising. My brain's just quit working. Oh, duh, your 7th house. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so what we're doing here is rethinking some relationships based on what you don't want to be existentially dreadful of. That's what it feels like to me when I read that chart. So Mercury is retrograde in your 7th house of relationships, cooperation, collaboration. Open enemies is one of those as well. It's like, I really want to let go of this existential worry that I can't quite put my finger on, and feeling isolated and worrying about being isolated. Well, you got to rethink who you are in relationships and maybe some of your relationships. Now, let's think about it. Mars went retrograde in your, make sure I'm right, 10th house, yep, of career. There's something about public reputation that you've really emotionally connected with over this Mars retrograde. What did you have to feel in that area? Well, that is going to inform you in this area. You know, it's like, actually, I really want to be a lawyer, and having these felons for best friends probably is not the best case scenario. Sorry for the cheesy example. I have nothing against felons. If you didn't murder somebody. Anyway, it's a sense of, does this person support my outer existence, my goals, man, my ambition? So that's one of those things that you have to, you know, kind of let go of questioning yourself and lean into, okay, I just got to make it happen. I got to do it. Okay. I think that's the best thing I can say for you. Uranus, by the way, is in your 8th house of shared resources. So there's been some change there, some needing to redo your values in the 8th house area. And that's going to help you. It's like, you know who you are right now. You have dived all the way down into your root chakra, and you can let go of the worry of the questioning yourself and maybe rethink the people around you because you have bigger goals. Okay. Hope I put that very well. Now we're going to do Scorpio rising. Maybe I won't get turned around. Scorpio rising. Right. That makes Virgo your 11th house. All right, Scorpio rising. So what we're looking at here is a full moon, lunar eclipse, and your 11th house of friend groups, goals, the outer world. It's really about the future. And so if you're letting go of that, you can see some of your communities maybe changing. And when I say letting go of it, I mean the worry about it. You know, it's like, are my goals perfect? Have I worked on networking enough? Yes, you have. Yes, you have. It's kind of just doing its thing now, right? So how are we going to reframe our minds there? That's going to be your 6th house of work. Maybe you get busy enough to reframe your mind. 6th house of health. Whoop, where's my circle? That's where Mercury is retrograde. Productivity, daily tasks, rethinking it. And the goals could be the reason why, right? So maybe it's like I've worked on those goals and I'm starting to make progress. I should enjoy myself a little. Now let's also think about Mars retrograde and where that was for you. That was in your 9th house of belief and philosophy. So travel is also something that could have stirred you up in some way. Higher education, publishing, expansion. It's like whatever you did, the work there is going to help the 6th house of routine. And I think it's probably just that you've created enough work for yourself lately. That's what it feels like. You've created a lot of work for yourself and you just got to work at it. Maybe it's also that you didn't have what you wanted. You didn't have the travel you wanted. You didn't have, what it took. And so now it's like, okay, I'm going to rethink the work and the health, and I'm going to have a routine that works. And I'm going to make it happen because you do want to make it happen. What do you want to make happen? Well, the solar eclipse is going to be in your 5th house of joy and fun. The only other thing is that this it trined Uranus in your 7th house of relationship. This full moon did. So there could also be a situation which your values about people have changed. It's like I've changed up these relationships. It's real easy to let go of this community now. Let go of worrying about it anyway. I'm doing the work now because I was not happy with this area of my life. Okay. Let's do Sagittarius rising. We're getting toward the end, y'all. Okay, move that square. How the heck? Okay. Sagittarius rising. All right, buddy. How you doing, buddy? There's this guy on TikTok that serves you meals. He goes, here you go, buddy. I like that. I feel like I want to talk to you that way for some reason. Okay. Sagittarius rising. Virgo is your 10th house of career and public reputation. Are you done worried about that? Is there something you want to let go of there? Maybe rethink it. I think that's probably what's going to happen. It's like maybe less outer, more inner is what's coming in. Now let's think about where Mercury is going retrograde. And that is your joy, passion, inner child, children's self-expression, rethinking something there. Is this what I love? Is this what brings me joy? That's what I need to know. Now, one of the things that could have had you thinking that is the fact that Mars was retrograde in your 8th house of shared resources here. Okay, so maybe that you didn't get your emotional needs met there for a minute. But now Mars is direct, and Mars is like, hey, this is what we're working with. And I think that's what you're going to be doing is working with that. So the only other thing I want to say is that Uranus is in your, I want to say, 6th house of work. So this is where you've been changing your values. And this is also where you have made, I would say, significant, maybe some surprises, but definitely some significant changes. Okay. So that's going to help you let go of this 10th house stuff. Your values around what you do every day, I think is the best way to say it, are supporting letting go of maybe some career, maybe some responsibility, some reputation. The 10th house also deals with parents, just FYI. And so, yeah, Mercury retrograde could be related to children because of that. Your inner child, So then I think the only other thing is just to make sure you know that the North Node, the solar eclipse, is going to be in your 4th house of home, emotional security, and that is good. It's like, let go of worrying about the outer world. It's time for inner. Okay. Now let's do Capricorn rising, and then we don't have many left. I'm running late. I'm running late. That's okay for practice. I don't think any of them are going to watch this, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, Capricorn rising. This full moon in Virgo is happening in your ninth house of philosophy, travel, belief, exploration, publishing, expansion. So there's some philosophy, something that you're no longer concerned about worrying about. If you were a traveler, maybe you need to let go of that. If you are worried about what you believe, your path in life, there's some just let go of that for a minute. Now, Mercury retrograde is going to be in your fourth house of home, emotional security, parenting, family, ancestry. So you're rethinking something here. And I think that's going to help you allow you to let go of maybe something you've always believed. It definitely feels ancestral for you, I would say, related to family. But maybe changes in the home, maybe desires to have less noise. And I think in the ninth house, it can be noise sometimes because it's just, what you learn, what it's kind of an overwhelming, this is what I believe, right? So some changes here help you let go of a philosophy you've always had, some changes in your home, emotional security, some rethinking of it. Now, the only other thing is Mars retrograde went through your seventh house of relationships. So there's some stirred up stuff around that. But that is informing how you feel about your home, protecting yourself, your own emotional security. It's like, pay attention to mine. Okay. Now, the only other thing is that Uranus has been moving through your fifth house of dating, passion, inner child, romance, I guess self-expression, joy, fun. You've changed your values around what's fun. That's also going to help you and assist you with letting go of something in that belief area. All right, we're going to do Aquarius rising, and then we're almost on to Pisces rising. Aquarius rising. Here we go. Make sure I got it right. That's right. Full moon in Virgo is in your eighth house of shared resources. This is the I am not signing that contract again situation here. Letting go of worried about what you owe people, letting go of worrying about people having power over you, worrying about out of balance contracts, things like that. Now, let's say why? Because Mercury retrograde is going to go through your third house. Now, the third house is how you think, how you communicate. So maybe you're rethinking that you need to be real clear on how you feel about things. Okay. Why do I say that? That's because Mars retrograde was in your sixth house of health, daily life, routine, tasks. There could have been something that happened at work that you're like, no, I'm not going to worry about this situation anymore. I know how to communicate for myself, and I know what I need to say to people. So I think those three areas are very likely to have some energy. I think one thing that's assisting in the letting go of worry, letting go of I guess worrying about what others hold over you, because we're talking about the full moon in the eighth house here, is the fact that you feel safe. You've changed your values around emotional security, safety, ancestry, maybe because of some lack of safety there with Uranus there for a minute, but your values around what makes you feel secure have changed. So it's like, for instance, someone came into your life and says, no, you don't have to work that job anymore. Or, no, I got your back. You can say what you feel. That kind of a thing. All right, Pisces rising, and we're done. Pisces rising, and we're done. Here we go. Well, this is in your seventh house of relationships. You can let go of worrying about that. I love it. It's like that is a place that you don't need to really, you got some groups, you got some friends going, they accept you for who you are. Now, why do I say that? And that is because Mercury will be retrograde in your second house of finances. Okay. So this is your values, who you are, your comfort. It's like, I don't have to worry about that. I do need to rethink what I'm paid. And I will tell someone what I need to be paid. And maybe you've got support now also. Maybe you need to rethink your life based on that. So if you don't, I would say that it's not a bad thing to be yourself during this time period because the North Node, the solar eclipse will be happening in your first house of identity. So there's some maximum changes coming for Pisces risings. And I think it has a lot to do with the magic that is you. But you need to rethink what you're demanding from people, right? And don't worry about what they think. And I do say demand, it's Aries on the second house. Okay. Now, the only other thing is that Mars went retrograde in your, come on, Mandy, do you really have to look at the chart? My brain's not working anymore. Fifth house. Fifth house of dating, passion, inner child, self-expression. So there's some creative self-expression, emotional inner child things you went through and figure it out. And now it's full speed ahead here. Okay. So that was Mars retrograde. And then I guess I do want to talk about the fact that learning to communicate is going to help you let go. And I want to make sure I'm right. Yeah. There's something about your thought processes that's changed that's going to help you release the worry around what other people think, kind of, and start heading more fully into this abundance area for yourself. And hey, you got the creativity to do it. All right, that's it for the rising signs. We're good there. Thanks for seeing me. Thanks for sharing with me. If you do in the comments, I'd really appreciate it. I will throw this up and I hope you guys have a good full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. And I'll be back for the solar eclipse March 29th. And also, me and Krista will be at the April forecast pretty soon. We'll be at it, we'll be doing it. We also have a workshop we did on the eclipses. If you want to buy it, I want to say it's like 25 bucks on. You can go follow the link in my bio. It'll be on my website as well. Okay, guys. Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology. Thank you.